Thomas and Amanda have lived together for over a decade in the Chicago suburbs. Their home, located in a quiet neighborhood with beautiful parks and cozy streets, always seemed like the perfect place for a family. They had a 3-year-old daughter, Lily, who became the center of their world. Although Thomas and Amanda's marriage looked happy on the outside, both felt a little distant from each other due to the stresses of everyday life. Thomas worked as a manager for a large construction company. His job required a lot of time and effort, and he often came home late at night. Amanda left her career when she gave birth to Lily and devoted all her time to raising her child and taking care of the house. At first, this division of responsibilities seemed right, but over time, Amanda began to feel tired and lonely. She lacked Thomas's support, and he, in turn, was convinced that he was fulfilling his role by providing for the family financially. With the arrival of Lily, it became clear that Amanda needed help. She was exhausted from caring for an active 3-year-old and decided they needed to hire a nanny. After several interviews, they chose a younger girl named Haley. She was a student at a local college, had a friendly personality, and was great with children. Lily quickly got used to her, and Amanda was glad to finally be able to breathe. Haley became a part of their lives from day one. She worked a few hours a day, taking care of Lily, reading her books, playing in the park, and sometimes preparing snacks. Amanda began spending more time alone with herself, attending yoga classes and meeting with friends. She felt like she was gradually regaining control of her life. But over time, Amanda began to notice that she felt a special connection to Haley. They talked a lot when Lily was sleeping or playing. At first, they were casual conversations about life, Haley's schooling, dreams, and plans. However, over time, these conversations became deeper and more personal. Amanda shared her feelings, her fears, and disappointments in her marriage. Haley, in turn, listened attentively, supporting Amanda. Thomas did not immediately notice that anything had changed. He was too busy working and thought that having a nanny had only made his wife's life easier. He could see that Amanda seemed calmer and was happy about it. But then he began to notice that she was spending more time with Haley than with him. They went for walks together, sometimes sat on the terrace with cups of coffee, and even laughed at some inside jokes that Thomas didn't understand. Amanda also began to distance herself from Thomas. She often refused to talk in the evening, claiming to be tired, and rarely initiated any joint plans. She felt that Thomas no longer understood her, that they had become strangers to each other. At the same time, her relationship with Haley was becoming increasingly important. Amanda began to think about what attracted her to this young girl. Her energy, kindness, ability to listen and support. However, the real change came when Amanda noticed that she looked forward to the moments when Haley came to their home. She started dressing a little more carefully, wearing makeup, and even wearing perfume, which she hadn't done in a long time. Haley didn't ignore this either. She was staying late after work more and more often, finding excuses to spend more time with Amanda. One day, when Thomas came home earlier than usual, he saw Amanda and Haley sitting on the couch laughing. Their faces shone with happiness, and the distance between them was too small to be called just friendship. Thomas didn't say anything, but the scene stuck in his mind. From then on, he began to look more closely at their behavior. Thomas noticed a change in Amanda's behavior. She began to close the door when she was in a room with Haley, and sometimes her phone was always with her, whereas before she would easily leave it anywhere. His anxiety grew, but he didn't dare ask her directly. Instead, he began to doubt himself. Was Amanda really not interested in him as a man anymore? Had he lost her because of his constant employment? One evening, when Amanda said she was going to a yoga class with Haley, Thomas decided to stay home and wait for them to return. When they arrived, he noticed Haley walking Amanda to the door with a long look. This only heightened his suspicions. He didn't want to cause a scandal without proof, but the feeling that something was wrong didn't leave him. Thomas started looking for answers, trying to understand what was going on in the relationship between Amanda and Haley. And although he didn't know the whole truth yet, his world was already beginning to shake under the weight of doubt. After Thomas began to notice the strange closeness between Amanda and Haley, he felt his doubts only grow. He couldn't ignore what he was seeing. Every conversation they had, every exchange of smiles seemed to him to be something more than just a friendship. But Thomas decided not to jump to conclusions and gather more evidence. One day, he decided to talk to Amanda. It was a normal evening. Lily was already asleep, and they were sitting in silence in the kitchen. Thomas, gathering his courage, asked, "I've noticed that you spend a lot of time with Haley. Is it because she's a good assistant or something else?" Amanda looked at him, and something flashed in her eyes that he couldn't recognize. She answered, "Haley is really great. She helps me not only with Lily, but she also lets me relax a little bit. She's become a good friend, Thomas. You can see how hard it's been for me lately." He nodded, trying to accept her explanation, but his gut feeling didn't go away. It seemed to him that she was avoiding a direct answer. Thomas decided to leave this conversation for later, hoping that his fears were unfounded. But as the days went by, the situation did not change. Thomas noticed Amanda staying out late with Haley, going shopping or having dinner at a cafe together, even when he was at home and could have been watching Lily. He had a growing sense that he was being pushed aside, and this only made his emotional state worse. One day, Thomas decided to talk to Haley. He caught the moment when Amanda went to the store and was alone with the nanny. "Haley," he began, trying to sound friendly, "you seem to have become very close to Amanda. I notice you two spending a lot of time together. That's great, but I'd like to know how you see it yourself." Haley was confused at first, but quickly found the words. "Amanda is very sweet and kind. We get along well, and I'm glad I can help her. Honestly, she looks so lonely when you're at work." These words hurt Thomas, even though Haley didn't mean to offend him. He felt like he was losing his wife and didn't know how to stop it. The next week, Thomas came home from work early. He was surprised to find the house quiet. Lily was sleeping, but neither Amanda nor Haley was in sight. He went upstairs and heard muffled voices coming from their bedroom. Thomas stopped in front of the door, not sure if he should go in. When he finally decided to open the door, what he saw changed his life forever. Amanda and Haley were together in a situation that left no doubt about their relationship. Their surprised faces when they saw him would forever remain in his memory. Thomas did not say a word. He simply closed the door and left the house. He could not stay, could not find the words to describe how he felt. Pain, betrayal, disappointment, all of it mixed in him, and he decided that he needed time to think things through. He went to a friend's house nearby and spent the night there. The next morning, he received a message from Amanda. "We need to talk. I'll explain everything." But Thomas didn't know if he wanted to hear those explanations. The next few days were the hardest for him. He kept thinking back to what he had seen and asking himself where exactly he and Amanda had lost contact. Could he have done something to prevent this from happening? Or was it a problem that could not be solved? Thomas spent the next few days in a state of internal struggle. He didn't know how to cope with what he had seen or what to do next. Amanda tried to contact him. She called, wrote messages, but Thomas avoided the conversation. He was not ready to talk because every word she said could only make the situation worse. Meanwhile, Amanda stayed at home, feeling guilty and anxious. She knew that Thomas would have to explain himself, but she didn't know where to start. Her relationship with Haley was unexpected and confusing. It started when she was looking for emotional support, but gradually grew into something more. Amanda hadn't planned to destroy her marriage, but her feelings for Haley became too strong to ignore. Thomas returned home a few days later, although his thoughts were still confused. He didn't want to leave Lily and knew that he and Amanda needed to talk for the sake of their daughter. But from the moment he entered the house, the atmosphere was tense. Amanda was waiting for him in the kitchen, trying to look calm, but her eyes were full of uncertainty. They sat down at the table, and Thomas finally asked, "How long has this been going on?" Amanda looked down and answered, "A few months. But, Thomas, I never wanted it to go this far. At first it was just a friendship support. I didn't even realize how much it had changed." Thomas listened carefully to her words, feeling mixed emotions. On the one hand, he was angry that she was hiding it from him, but on the other hand, he could see her sincerity and remorse. "Why didn't you come to me? Why didn't you tell me you were having a hard time?" he asked. Amanda took a deep breath. "Because I thought you wouldn't understand me. You were always busy, always at work. And I felt lonely. And Haley, she was just there for me." These words hit Thomas, even though he knew they were partly true. He did spend a lot of time at work trying to provide for his family, but he hadn't noticed that Amanda needed his attention. They talked for a long time, and Amanda confessed to all the details. She explained that her relationship with Haley was not only physical, but also emotional. She said that it was hard for her to break that connection, but now she wanted to keep her family together and was willing to do whatever it took. Thomas was at a loss. He didn't know if he could forgive her, but he also realized that he loved her and didn't want to lose her. He suggested that they take a break so that they could both think about their feelings and decisions. Over the next few weeks, Thomas and Amanda began to work on rebuilding their relationship. They went to a marriage and family therapist who helped them understand what had led to this crisis and how they could avoid it in the future. Amanda broke off all relations with Haley and focused on regaining Thomas's trust. It was a long and difficult process. Thomas had a hard time forgetting what had happened, and he often doubted whether they could overcome this crisis. But day by day, they learned to trust each other again, to talk openly about their feelings, and to support their family. Although she did not understand all the details, Lily felt that her parents began to spend more time together and smile more often. This inspired Thomas and Amanda to continue working on themselves and their marriage. Despite the pain and difficulties, they both realized that their love was still alive and were ready to fight for their future together. The following months were a real test for Thomas and Amanda. They were in a state of constant tension, but at the same time, they were trying to find a common language so as not to completely destroy what they had been building for years. Family therapy has become an important part of their lives, but even with the support of a professional, the road to rebuilding trust was not easy. Amanda started by refusing to have any communication with Haley. She stopped all contact, deleted her number, and even asked her not to come to their house anymore. This was not an easy decision for Amanda, as her connection to Haley, although false, had been a source of emotional support for her. But she knew it was a necessary step if she wanted to save her marriage to Thomas. Thomas, in turn, watched these changes with cautious optimism. He could see that Amanda was sincerely trying to change, but his internal doubts remained. Every night when they went to bed, Thomas felt a distance between them that seemed insurmountable. He wanted to believe that he could forgive her, but every time his thoughts returned to the day he saw them together, the anger and pain resurfaced. The family counselor offered them a series of exercises aimed at rebuilding trust. One of the tasks was to write diaries in which they had to express their feelings and experiences. This helped them to understand each other better, but at the same time revealed all the hidden resentments and disappointments. Amanda wrote about her loneliness, about how she felt that Thomas had become emotionally distant from her long before Haley came along. She described how she lacked attention and support, and how she tried to find these feelings in the wrong place. Thomas, in turn, wrote about his frustration and anger. He admitted that he felt betrayed and humiliated, but also realized that he had made mistakes by ignoring his wife's needs. Thomas couldn't stop thinking about what had happened. He remembered the moments when Amanda and Haley were together in his home and felt powerless. He had many questions. Was he not a good enough husband? Could this situation have been prevented if he had paid more attention to their marriage? One of the biggest problems for Thomas was that he could no longer look at Amanda the same way he used to. Her actions had left a deep scar in his heart, and although he could see her efforts, it was an open wound. He knew he had to decide if he could live with this feeling or if they were better off apart. Amanda, realizing the depth of Thomas's wounds, did her best to show her commitment. She started spending more time with her family. They organized picnics, went for walks with Lily, and even started cooking dinners together. These simple moments became an opportunity for them to recapture at least some of the connection they had before. Amanda also tried to restore romance to their marriage. She suggested that they go on a date just like in the old days when they were newlyweds. Thomas agreed, albeit with some skepticism. They went to the restaurant where they had spent their first wedding anniversary. The evening was filled with memories that reminded them why they fell in love with each other. However, Thomas still couldn't completely relax. He felt like there was a wall between them that prevented them from being truly close. After several months of working on their relationship, Thomas and Amanda reached a point where they needed to decide what would happen next. The psychologist suggested that they hold separate sessions so that each of them could assess their feelings without the influence of their partner. Thomas, sitting in the psychologist's office, honestly admitted that he loved Amanda, but did not know if he could forgive her. He described how his trust in her had been undermined and how difficult it was for him to open up again. However, he also realized that his life would be empty without her. Amanda, for her part, spoke of her remorse and desire to make things right. She admitted that she had realized her mistakes and wanted to become a woman Thomas could love and respect again. She was ready to make every effort to rebuild their relationship, even if it took a long time. After much thought, Thomas decided to give their marriage another chance. He knew it wouldn't be easy, but he also saw that Amanda was willing to fight for their future. They agreed that they would continue to work on their relationship and always be open with each other. Their life together gradually began to improve. Thomas and Amanda started talking more, sharing their thoughts and emotions. They realized that their marriage would be different, but that didn't mean it would be worse. Their experience taught them to appreciate each other and not to ignore their feelings. A year after the crisis, Thomas and Amanda decided to celebrate their wedding anniversary. They invited friends and family to mark the occasion as a symbol of a new beginning. 2 years have passed since Thomas and Amanda decided to give their marriage a second chance. It has been a year of work on themselves and their relationship, full of ups and downs. But the most important thing was that they learned to understand each other and build a new foundation of trust. After challenging months of therapy and constant communication, Thomas felt that he could let go of the pain and anger that had held him captive. He realized that holding on to the betrayal meant constantly living in the past, and this was preventing them from moving forward. Amanda, on the other hand, did everything she could to prove her commitment and change her attitude toward marriage. Amanda decided to fulfill a long-held dream and started working on setting up her own small business, a bakery where she could do the baking that had always been her passion. Thomas supported her in this endeavor, helped her find premises, and invested some of his savings in the development. Her business became a new source of joy and pride for both of them. Amanda felt confident and independent, and Thomas was proud of her achievements. Lily, who had already started school, became another unifying factor for their family. Going to her school performances, sporting events, and parks together reminded Thomas and Amanda of the importance of family moments. They began to plan more time together and enjoy these moments together. Although their life was gradually getting better, there were times when Thomas felt anxious or doubtful. He knew that trust was a fragile thing, and every little conflict could remind him of the past. However, instead of hiding his feelings, he learned to discuss them openly with Amanda. She always listened to him with patience and understanding, reminding him that their future together was more important than any mistake from the past. One day, Amanda suggested that they organize a small event for their friends and family to celebrate a new stage in their lives. It was her idea to symbolize the end of a period of difficulty and the beginning of a new chapter. Thomas supported her, and together they organized a dinner party, inviting the people closest to them. At this event, Amanda gave a speech in which she thanked Thomas for his patience, strength, and love. It was a moment when everyone present saw how deep their understanding had become. After some time, Thomas and Amanda decided to fulfill a long-held dream, a trip to Italy, which they had talked about at the beginning of their marriage. They traveled to Rome, Florence, and Venice, where they were able to feel young and in love again. This trip became a symbol of a new beginning for them, a time when they were able to leave the past behind and focus on what was really important. At the end of the trip, sitting in St. Mark's Square in Venice, Thomas looked at Amanda and said, "I never thought we would make it through all this, but now I know that our marriage is stronger than ever. We are not perfect, but together we can overcome anything." Amanda smiled, squeezed his hand, and replied, "I'm grateful for every day that you've been by my side. You are my support and my love." Their story is an example of how light can be found even after the darkest moments if both parties are willing to work on the relationship. Their marriage will never be the same, but it has become deeper and more real. Thomas and Amanda realized that love is not only about perfect moments, but also about the ability to overcome difficulties together.